Welcome back. I'm Randy Bueller, Brian David Marshall. We've just finished lunch. Hope you guys enjoyed the Magic Online Live Series championship match. Something a little new for you. Curious, send something to us on Twitter. Let us know what you thought. Hashtag PT Austin or send it to Magic Pro Tour. Kind of fun. Now, however, back to the main event. We are queued up. The semifinals are just a couple of moments away. See, Brian Kibler has he's got his iPod plugged in. What's the song for this weekend's
I'm not
tournament?
sure. Something from the sky. I didn't.
Sorry, I didn't hear it either. He's shuffling up across from Hunter Burton, the Texan. I can already see the headline. Right, don't mess with Texas. That's the headline if he pulls this off. He's got a little more of the crowd behind him than some of the other players. Just because the locals would love to see a local boy win.
Sure.
Burton versus Kibler, and then the other match, the match we'll get to second, is a battle of Japanese players. We're going to have a Japanese player versus an American in the finals. We know that. We don't know whether it'll be Akeda or Shimizu. They play in one semifinal. We don't know whether it will be Kibler or Burton. They play in the other.
We do know we'll be seeing a Zoo deck in the finals.
We do. Kibler and Burton are both running Zoo variants. Burton has got the Molten Rain variety of Zoo. Kibler has got the Baneslayer and Willow Fire version.
Right. We joked a lot about the Zoo mirror match. We could see that, or we could see Zoo versus Judge. They were the two most popular archetypes in the tournament.
Yeah. No, this is a pretty good read on what the most played decks were. Definitely sort of undersells the diversity of the format, though. I mean, Zoo wasn't 75% of the field. It wasn't even close. It wasn't even 25% of the field.
It was just over 20, yeah.
And Dark Depths definitely had a big impact on this tournament. Hypergenesis definitely had a big impact on this tournament. Although I feel like Hypergenesis probably had a bigger impact on sideboards than on actual matches. It's like everybody showed up on Thursday, and they, either they were looking for Dark Depths or they were looking for Hypergenesis cards, and then suddenly everyone was looking for meddling mages, and I think that kind of scared off the Hypergenesis players.
Interestingly, we could very well have seen a Hypergenesis deck in this.
Yeah,
matchup.
let's talk about that. We were talking to Brian at lunch about Game 5 of his quarterfinal match against Van.
Right, we had read his body language as the match ended. Before the scores updated, it's him losing.
Right.
And it's because he had no idea how he had won that game. Part of it includes a missed trigger.
Right. So, if we take you back, Van went for Hypergenesis. Kibler kept a draw with two Ghost Quarters, so he effectively went strip mine you. But Van kept playing land. He went straight to 5, and there was the Cascade spell for Hypergenesis. And one interesting thing that I hadn't quite picked up on with the player audio, Kibler was bantering back and forth with Van a lot. And, every turn he's like, am I dead yet? Am I dead yet? And, Van was just kind of playfully talking to him.
Right.
And so Kibler sees him go for the Cascade. He's like, he's going to be any good? And Van said, well, I got two creatures. And Kibler, are they any good? And he said, it's a Progenitus and an Angel. And Kibler is holding a Baneslayer Angel in his hand.
He did not actually top deck it. He had it.
Yeah, we thought he had top decked it because he chose not to play the Baneslayer while the Hypergenesis was resolving. And it turns out Kibler, he just didn't want to get killed by Angel of Despair.
Right.
And Van had told him Angel of Despair was coming, so Kibler held it back and didn't want to lose it to Angel of Despair. But then Van never targeted anything with Angel of Despair. He just played his monsters, shipped the turn. Sure. Kibler ripped the land that he needed to be land 5 or 3 land 2 Hierarchs for Baneslayer Angel, summons it, but that Angel of Despair trigger, it just never happened.
It can hit a land.
It can hit a land, which will deny Baneslayer.
It can hit a Meddling Mage. Meddling Mage was naming Hypergenesis, Fire Spout, and Putrefy.
And, by the way, Van had both a Fire Spout and a Putrefy in his hand, it turns out. So blowing up either of those Meddling Mages would have allowed him to win the game.
Right.
Yeah, if it hits a Hierarch, if it hits a Meddling Mage, if it hits any one of Kibler's permanents with the exception of the third Meddling Mage that was naming Hypergenesis. Like, that's the only permanent that would that the Angel of Despair could target and actually not win the game. But, as it turns out, yeah, Kibler won that game, and so he's attacking for 7 because the double exalted, and 7, gaining 7, he was able to go up so that on the last turn
he was on 2.
He winds up at 2, and he's able to attack for 7. 7 plus 7 plus 7 is 21. It only took 3 hits. 2 Hypergenesis hits, not good enough.
Kibler feels very good about his second lease on life. He's matched up against Hunter Burton, who's playing Zoo, and he feels that this matchup favors him. Certainly far more than the Dredge deck he was possibly going to face.
Oh, yeah, his deck is totally set up to be
match turned out the other way.
Well, these guys look like they're shuffled up and ready to play, so we'll be right back momentarily. We'll find out which of these Zoo decks is going to represent the United States in the finals. Hello and welcome to Pro Tour Austin. I'm Randy Buehler here with Brian David Marshall, and we are ready for the semifinals. All 4 quarterfinal matches were outstanding. They all went to 5 games, so each of these 4 players is coming off a thrilling 3-2 victory. We're going to start out on the match between the 2 Americans that got into the semifinals, Brian Kibler and Hunter Burton. Kibler has a very innovative take on the zoo archetype that's been so prevalent this extended. He's got Grove of the Burn Willows paired with Punishing Fire to give him a recursive damage spell that pretty much only his playtest team found. He gives all credit to Ben Rubin, Hall of Famer Ben Rubin, for this deck. The other nice thing going on with that deck is it's built a little slower and with bigger creatures than your typical zoo. Their theory was, let's set up our main deck so that we beat zoo. And in order to do that, they brought in Baneslayer Angels. 3 Baneslayer Angels on top of 4 Knight of the Reliquary give them some real beef that they can block. They can just beat up the other zoo player. If somebody shows up with 16 1-drops or a bunch of 1s and 2s, their main deck is set up to be good against zoo. And you know what he's gotten paired against in the semis?
Zoo, but it is not your typical zoo.
No.
It's a zoo deck that actually is one of the few decks in the tournament that has a way to disrupt the Grove of the Burn Willows Punishing Fire combo.
True.
By Molten Raining the Grove of the Burn Willows. He doesn't have a ton of removal that can deal with the Baneslayer Angel, although you can argue that the Molten Rains can help
it down, sure.
help keep Kibler off of 5 mana. So, I mean, Kibler thinks he's pretty advantaged in this, but it's not as good as it would be if it was any other zoo deck.
All true. So, yes, Molten Rain has been great for Hunter Burton. He has yet to lose a match of Extended the entire weekend. 10-0-1, including the quarterfinal matchup where he beat first place in the Player of the Year race, Yuya Watanabe.
Basic Forest.
Kibler fetching out basic lands. Very, very aware of the Molten Rains that Hunter Burton has been having so much success with this weekend. Basic Mountain, basic Forest for Kibler.
Threw a lightning bolt at Hunter at the end of the first turn.
No, he killed the Tarmogoyf.
And now I have
Did he kill Tarmogoyf?
Yeah, he killed Tarmogoyf.
That is a Noble Hierarch.
Noble Hierarch comes down. So I know that Burton's Molten Rains give him maybe a little more game against Kibler than the average zoo deck, but I still have Kibler as a big favorite here.
I have Kibler as a big favorite as well.
Yeah, I mean, they set their main deck up to beat zoo. Their sideboard does a really nice job of giving them a package that they can bring in against the other expected decks, right? They've got the anti-Hypergenesis package. We watched Kibler win 3 sideboarded games with that. They've got an anti-Dark Depths package. They've got, I mean, it's just a really elegant sideboard. It's maybe not the most flexible sideboard in the world, but they called the field correctly. They correctly predicted which would be the big decks that they would need game against. They have their main deck set up to beat the most common deck in the format, which they predicted would be Zoo, and they were right. They have their sideboard set up to beat the various combo decks that came in. Okay. They've got maybe a little more affinity hate than they wish they had. I think they'd swap that out for some dredge hate right now if they could do it over again. But with that exception, this deck is really extremely well put together.
Right. Worth pointing out that there are no graveyard hate cards in this sideboard.
Yeah. If he gets the dredge matchup in the finals, they may regret
look ahead
that.
to the finals. Yeah.
I actually feel like all the buzz about Dark Depths and Hypergenesis really opened up a hole in this metagame for Dredge to walk into. The Japanese in particular, I think a majority of the Japanese, certainly a majority of the name players that were running through the feature match area over the course of the weekend went with the Dredge build and had pretty good success with it. Including Naoki Shimizu, who's in the other semifinal against Tsuyoshi Ikeda.
Naoki was so nervous at lunch. He
couldn't eat.
He could barely eat. He nibbled like a little corner off of a brownie or something. So Molten Rain took out a land, but
took out a basic land.
Didn't do any damage.
5 or something. 4.
Actually, a Sacred Foundry.
And Kibler's like, time for the non-basics. We cleared that Molten Rain.
Go ahead.
There's Knight of the Reliquary.
Okay.
Dueling Knights.
Cool. Yours is currently...
They both have Knight of the Reliquary.
Yes.
I'll draw.
Knight of the Reliquary was a big extended card at the end of the last extended season.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also become a big standard card now with the advent of Landfall.
Sure.
And then, so,
Three cards, five cards. That's a bunch.
4.
2 lands in the graveyard of Hunter Burton. So it's a 4/4 Knight of the Reliquary. Kibler cracks another fetch land. Is that 3 or 4 in his graveyard? 5 lands in Kibler's graveyard.
so it's a 7/7 Knight of the Reliquary. And able to keep getting bigger. Lightning Helix, your small one, with a Punishing Fire to finish it off.
Yeah.
15.
Man down.
7.
Kibler gains 3 up to 15 and cracks in for 7.
Oh, 7, you're right. Hey. Says 8, yeah.
Don't forget Exalted.
Go ahead.
15 to 6.
Cracked in for 8, actually. With
Wow.
Exalted.
Ball game.
Scoop.
Hunter had nothing in his hand, so Brian Kibler takes a quick game 1.
First place. Oh, 1-2 Tarmogoyf.
1-2 Tarmogoyf got lightning bolted, and Hunter had a Molten Rain, and just not a lot of action in that draw.
He's all right.
When Kibler was able to kill through 2 cards at the night, there was no gas behind it.
Seems fine.
Now, what happens to these decks after sideboarding for this matchup?
Let's take a look at...
I can't imagine Kibler does a lot of sideboarding just because they built the main deck to beat Zoo.
He felt that he was like hoping his opponents weren't sideboarding because he doesn't really want to have to think about it. He's happy to play his starting 60.
Oh, yeah, sure. Interestingly, though, I do think we'll see the Ghost Quarters come in. I do think that you're playing against a deck with a land destruction sub-theme, so you want extra land is reasonable. And I think they're just straight up better than Treetop Village in this matchup because they come into play untapped.
You may see the Kitchen Finks from
Hunter?
Hunter. And that's
He doesn't seem to have a lot for this matchup either.
Dwarger, Headmage, Ancient Grudge, and it's really just going to be like 2 Kitchen Finks is what I would expect.
Makes sense.
I just gotta win 3 out of 4. No big deal.
Not too bad. Not too bad.
You won 3 out of 3 last time.
I did. I was down 0-2. I lost. I won a completely ridiculous game 5, too.
Okay.
Kibler tells the truth.
Have you ever had your opponent put Progenitus and Angel of Discard in play when you have 2 Noble Hierarchs and then win?
No.
I have. And let me tell you, it feels great.
Yeah, I would
Start
say
that Facebook group now.
There's no one who does that but the Queen, Miss Baneslayer Angel.
Baneslayer Angel's been just showing up. Really
outstanding.
proved
I
its
didn't
worth
play,
this week, and
I
every
didn't play
time
on
they
Genesis.
drew that card, it's
It was
just been
very-
marvelous for them.
next turn. Kind of sweet.
It's interesting. No, really, you didn't hear any other teams talking about playing that.
No, it's true.
I can't possibly beat it.
That's the idea, that I have cards you just can't possibly beat.
Yeah, you just heard Hunter say that as a card I can't possibly beat.
He actually said that's another.
Another card I can't possibly beat. Interesting.
I heard that Hunter actually was over lunch. People were talking. He had his plan figured out for how to win this matchup.
Oh yeah, how's
It
gonna go
involves
about it?
Kibler keeping like 2 land and a Hierarch, and then Hunter kills the Hierarch right away, and Kibler never draws another land. That's his plan.
That might happen once.
No,
Yeah, 3 out of 4 is what he needs.
you leave, you're gonna have a problem with the Dacia. I'm like, well, I guess I'll just go get curb stomped for an hour. It seems like it's fun.
I'm having fun.
I'm really not too upset. Came down here to waste a weekend.
Hey.
and-
Not a bad weekend already.
No, it seems fine. It was actually just had to win the top 8 match because I refused to leave without a plaque or a trophy. Like, it seems utterly ridiculous they don't at least give a plaque to top 8.
I can't remember. I don't think they've ever given plaques to the quarterfinalists.
I didn't sideboard anything.
That's hilarious. Rich, our spotter on the floor, just walked over to pick up Hunter's sideboard so he could see what Hunter did for sideboarding. Hunter just turns to him and says, "I didn't sideboard anything."
Yeah.
Thus, obviously telling Kibler as well.
Kibler keeps getting free information just by
does.
chatting up his opponents. Just making them relax.
How this goes.
Let's just try to get rumbly.
Good luck.
I will eat.
Just got a message on Facebook from someone who said they want Brian Kibler to win because he's got the best smile in Magic.
The
And
best
it'll look
smile in
best
Magic.
smile in Magic, and he'll look great on the homepage.
Here's a look at
Somewhere.
Hunter Burton as he looks at his hand. First PT top 8, does have a Grand Prix top 8 and an additional Grand Prix top 16. Qualified for this in Seattle. So he's from Fort Worth, a couple hours away. Again, didn't do a ton of preparation, just figured he'd come down, have a good time at the Pro Tour.
Really?
He's having a really good time.
Yeah.
He's up, what, 10, 15 grand? What do you get for third, fourth?
Yeah, he's got two numbers to the left of the comma.
Yeah,
And he's,
plenty, that's good enough.
Got a fancy
He
one.
said he was coming here to waste his weekend.
Good. Ooh. Oh, I actually have a chance to win this thing.
Yeah,
No
no one
higher.
drop for Kibler.
Ooh. Oh, lightning bolt him.
But his one drop is a lightning bolt.
Yeah, he's got a one.
Down goes. Is that Nicodle? Now here's, is that Tarmogoyf?
That is a 3/4.
3/4 Tarmogoyf.
3/4 Tarmogoyf. Instant creature and land.
Hi, 3/4. How
Look
do you
at that basic plan.
Oh my god, now you're taking
Kibler cracks a fetch land, continues with his basic land team. Prefers not to turn on Molten Rain's damage if he can help it.
I mean, Burton's certainly going to be looking at that Grove of the Burn Willows if he's got a Molten Rain.
Generous guy, giving you
That
like.
turns on, a sort of hammer with buyback.
And I'm like,
Yep.
no,
So,
slow down.
so much more economical. Do you remember when you were perfectly happy to pay, 8 mana a
8 mana
turn
to bring back Hammer Bogardan.
at sorcery speed?
I won't block.
Kibler plays, is that Pride Mage?
It looks like a Quasali Pride Mage. Another Wild Nicodle.
So Hunter Burton has Wild Nicodle and a 3/4 Tarmogoyf to go with his 3 lands. Kibler is down to 16.
Oh, I know you do.
Oh, Hunter's saying, don't say Blood Moon, don't say Blood Moon.
He's got 3 basic lands in his deck.
Hunter?
Yep. He's got a mountain, a forest, and a plains.
Yeah, I don't think Kibler brought in Blood Moon. It'd be an interesting choice if he had.
Which is more, by the way, than say Martin Juza had.
I'll sack.
Yeah, I don't think either player did any sideboarding.
Hey, Juza had 1 mountain. Yeah, it doesn't look like either player made any changes. We know that because Hunter told us.
Helix U.
Hunter would really like to see a Molten Rain somewhere in
Another
here
lightning bolt.
and keep Brian away from that Baneslayer Angel mana
So Nicodle dies to lightning bolt.
and another red source.
Tarmogoyf chunks away another 3 life.
I was like, nah,
No, that's how my card works.
go.
There's his other red source.
That high.
I'm pretty high.
Go.
Yeah.
Cards.
4.
Sounds like Naoki Shimizu has taken game 1 from Ikeda.
With about 80% of his deck on the table.
Well, probably a bunch of tokens from his box as well.
I'll take 3.
Tarmogoyf continues to take 3-point chunks out of Kibler's life. And here is yet another Wild Nicodle.
Now Baneslayer comes.
Yeah, is this the Baneslayer turn?
Oh my god, do you not have the land? You don't have the land?
He's got the land. He's going to put a little scare into him. Nope, not with a tapped land.
Go.
I really feel like you're tricking me. I don't know what I'm walking into because I didn't look at your deck. So,
I did not look at your deck.
attack for 6. Oh my god.
You gain a life.
Oh,
Yet
21.
another bolt on Nicodle.
I take 3.
Hunter's at 21.
Kibler down to 4. He's got to crack fetch lands here, right? Set up so that he can top deck Baneslayer.
I'll sacrifice this. I'll go to 3. I'm dead.
Yeah, and
God, we won again.
Gilbert was trying to avoid going down to 3. He was afraid he was going to die to a burn spell, and he does. So 1 game apiece.
For chumps.
Hunter Burton gets to go first and takes game 2.
See? You just have to draw really bad, and I draw pretty good. And that's, you know.
Only needs to happen 2 more times.
Hunter's got to be careful giving away his strategy like this.
I'd rather it not.
I understand. If I were in your shoes, I'd feel the same way.
No, because if I win the big trophy, I'm going to put it on a necklace and make them take my Pro Tour winner picture with it as a necklace. And seems like a pretty good plan, right?
Yeah.
I'm just so happy I won a game. Like,
Well, I'll let you leave with that small victory.
I mean,
Not going to be any more of those.
you can give me 2 more.
No.
I ain't going to be mad at you.
No. I'm sorry, I can't do that.
Listen to the guys bantering back and forth here.
Yeah, yeah.
Fun.
Yeah, it's just painful.
Yeah, well, like, he didn't talk, and he just, I don't know, he took so long.
Sounds like Hunter Burton is not the biggest Yu Yu Watanabe fan in the building.
Apparently to him it was serious business. I was just sitting there asking if I could go smoke the whole time.
Smoking's bad for you.
They'll have a cure for cancer by the time I get it. So.
He has a plan for that, too.
Go to the doctor and get a shot. That'll be it.
Would be nice.
I'm kind of relying on that, so.
He's got a plan for everything.
Hunter seems like the kind of guy who could just say just about anything. I don't know. I don't know if anyone wants to queue up a tape delay here.
Really. I just repeat all my games.
I just kind of went,
And every time when my opponent says I'll play first, I tell them good choice. It's just my thing.
That's fair, I guess.
Hope I get a little less land, but not too much less.
I mean,
The Magic Not So Live series.
I had a Baneslayer Angel that game.
yeah, I was in pretty rough shape. I was just sitting there, I was like, man.
Yeah, there's only 3 Path to Exiles in Hunter's deck, right?
He does not have any Angel Lancers. 3 paths, no O-rings.
Three paths, that's it. Yeah, a lot of other decks were bringing in O-rings. You know, I assume for maybe the Hypergenesis matchup with other decks, but
Yeah, I mean, it hits an Avatar token, too, right? They'll take a 2020 out of play.
yeah, pretty good against Baneslayer.
That's fair, I guess.
Like if I draw a fire, I want mountains. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brian killed the 75% of the Cattles in Hunter's deck that game.
2 bolts, Crimage, and some lands. I mean, like, it's a reasonable defensive draw. Like,
very fair.
Brian's describing the hand he kept.
I figure, I draw some action. I got a good hand, but didn't draw anything else except for